as we promised, we're discussing the Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders. Yes. And of course, the flagship program of the President Obama's Young African Leadership Initiative, YALI. Of course, that empowers young people through academic coursework, leadership training, and of course, networking. And of course, in studio, we've got Miss Bonolo Cebe, and of course, we've got Nicholas von Mertens. There we go. Thank you so much, Nicholas. And of course, just to get us started off, guys, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We're ever so happy to have you here. Now, to get us started off, can you tell us a bit about the Mandela Washington Fellowship and what what qualifies a person to sort of get into the program? What academic criteria is required to be part of the program?
Well, certainly, the Mandela Washington Fellowship is in its third year, and we're very excited to announce that it's going to increase in size to 1,000 fellows from across Africa. And maybe to talk a little bit about what to get into the program,
yes.
I'll turn it over to my colleague Bonolo, and she can explain her path, her journey into the program.
Fantastic. Excellent. So as you know, I was a 2014 participant on the program.
Yes.
And I was fortunate enough to travel across to America to experience this fellowship. And what it is, it's a 6-week fellowship in the United States of America at an academic institution.
Okay.
So there were a couple of universities across, the country, and each one of us, go to a different university. And you have about 25 young Africans at a university spending 6 weeks there engaging on issues of leadership, talking about the kind of impact and change they want to make on the continent.
Yes.
So that was the academic component of the program. And to be part of it, to be selected, I just had to be awesome. Besides being, awesome, what this program is looking for is young people who are driven by making an impact on the continent.
Yes.
So that's a fundamental thing, that you need to have a commitment, you need to have a passion for Africa, and you need to be a leader in whatever field you work in. So the program has 3 tracks. It's public management for people who are working for government or are interested in working in governmental institutions for public service. Then there's civic leadership. Civic leadership is mainly targeting young people who have NGOs, who work for NGOs, but are working in the civic society space. And the third one being business and entrepreneurship. And we know that in Africa there's this huge boom and rising young entrepreneurs. So that's the third component. I participated on the public management track because I'm really passionate about building African institutions and looking at how we can strengthen them to develop our continent. So that was my experience. I went to the University of Arkansas, down in the south. So it was a very interesting experience, and I'll tell you more about it.
Fantastic. Now, getting back to sort of the qualification and all that, how, is age something that is considered, and really how does the eligibility sort of selection process go about?
Yeah, certainly. So it's really wide open. We want to encourage a lot of people to apply, but it is very much targeted at people who are between the ages of 25 and 35.
Okay.
Is that if you're over 35 at the time of the application, which is going on from now until November 11th, then unfortunately this isn't a program for you. So it is very much targeted at youth. With regards to kind of open to everyone, is that there's no college degree required.
Wow.
We're really looking for, as Bonolo mentioned, leaders in your various fields. The fields she mentioned were, of course, business and entrepreneurship, public administration, and kind of the civil society.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, what period of time does the program run over?
So the Mandela Washington Fellowship in itself is a 6-week program. So it's the 6 weeks at an academic institution. But post that, the fellows get to spend 3 days in Washington. And in the 3 days, they hosted at a presidential summit with President Barack Obama.
Fantastic.
And in those 3 days, that is where they really get to reconnect as 1,000 this year young leaders, and really map out the kind of work and impact they want to make on the continent. But following, the 6 weeks and the 3 days, we have an opportunity called a professional development experience.
Yes.
And, you can call it an internship.
Mm-hmm.
But this opportunity is another 6-week period where young leaders, select few young leaders, can apply to participate in a professional development experience at a company, at, a government office in America. And what I really like about the professional development experience is that if you are a young person going on the YALI program and you know that there's an organization that does similar work to what you do, you are able to literally tailor-make your professional development experience and be connected to that company or organization or whatever institution that you are interested in. But beyond that, there are follow-on activities that, we have an opportunity of participating in when we come back to South Africa. In itself, the fellowship is a 1-year experience. So it's the 6 weeks, it's the 3 days, it's the 6 weeks if you want to go for an internship or professional development experience. But you get home and there are still some incredible opportunities for you to intern for a company, in Africa, to intern for the AU. I had the opportunity to be exposed to different, levels of engagement with institutions on the continent.
Fantastic.
And so beyond that experience in America, you come back and there's a year-long experience.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, there's more, right? It sounds like there's so much in the program, but there really is. And we really have, this opportunity to join a network of change makers in the country, but also on the continent.
Yes.
And there are grants competitions that, that are available to us. There are networking opportunities and mentorship as well. So it's really been like an all-encompassing experience, and it's one of those opportunities as a young person that you need to look at and be like, how am I going to use this to get to where I want to get in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, and how am I going to use it to impact my community, but also my continent.
Fantastic. Nick, you agree?
Fully, definitely. It's great to hear one of our alumni speak so passionately about the program.
Fantastic. You guys are getting me so excited. Now, when do applications officially open and close for the 2016 intake?
Certainly. So the application is open right now.
Mm-hmm.
People can go, you have to apply online, and it's YALI.state.gov, and click on the Mandela Washington Fellowship.
Fantastic.
All right. It's not really that intensive of an application. I think people really need to focus on kind of condensing their answers, is not using 3 or 4 pages, but really telling your story and talking about your work and what you're doing in the community or on a national level, and try to condense that down to sometimes as little as 100 or 250 words.
So hard. I want to say it so much.
Exactly.
Now, is there a possibility for, of course you were saying you get to meet with the president, that possibility, and really what is the interaction when that happens, when you're meeting with President Obama, and what is the interaction like, especially for the young African leaders? What is that interaction about, and what is the purpose?
Right. So the 3-day summit in itself is not just 3 days with the president, but it's also 3 days with influential American leaders, business people, people working in civil society. And, talking from a personal experience, what those 3 days were about for me was to look at how do we build partnerships, partnership with America, but also partnership within the continent, because every single young person who is present in the program, but also at the presidential summit, is a future leader, is currently a leader. And that 3 days is an opportunity for us to engage each other, very importantly. But also, of course, it's great to meet the President of the United States of America. And we have a town hall. It's a town hall meeting with the President, and he makes these remarks and inspires us as young people who are going to make an even greater impact on our continent. But also, we interact with him, so we get an opportunity to ask him some very tough questions about, leadership, tough questions about his experience as a president, but also, looking at how do we build relationships in a way that is beneficial to the African people.
There we go. And Now, which U.S. universities has YALI partnered with in terms of this initiative?
Sure. Well, certainly there's currently partnership with 20 universities, but as the program is growing this year, I'm sure that number will expand. And there's some of the big name universities in the United States. For example, I know that Yale University and Dartmouth are part of the program. These are both Ivy League schools.
Yes.
But there's universities across the country to really give Washington Mandela Fellows a perspective of the entire United States. And so, for example, the school that Bonolo went to was the University of Arkansas.
Fantastic. Now, will the trip? Obviously, will the trip be fully funded? And once a fellow has, of course, the candidates have been selected, what is that process?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, yeah. So as I mentioned, the deadline is November 11th. So we'll definitely stress people would need to get their applications in by then.
Yes.
But there is a significant lead time, is that the program, the U.S. portion of the program wouldn't start until the middle of June for 6 weeks, lasting until late July, which would have the presidential summit at the very end in Washington, D.C., a great time to be in D.C. And yes, it is. It's fully funded. So with regards to plane tickets and all tuition and lodging and food in the United States, that would be completely covered for all the fellows.
Fantastic. Now, Bonolo, you are, of course, a YALI graduate, as you mentioned, for the year 2014. Tell us a bit more about your experiences in the fellowship and how it has impacted on your life.
So, I mean, I always describe the YALI experience as being a life-changing, opportunity because, while you're there, you are literally... And it's incredible to go to America, but it's incredible to be in America with people you haven't met before. But young people who are working all over the continent and are doing things you have not even thought of.
Yes.
We've got people who are powering up their villages. And you get so inspired.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened for me. I got so inspired to literally try to do more and be more in my community. And one of my passions is women's development and women empowerment.
Yes.
Over the years, I've had the opportunity to work with girls from different communities, but also young women. And what that experience in the fellowship did for me is connect me to people working in the same space.
Yes.
And now I have a network. I have a network of women who are also empowering girls in different parts of the continent. And we're able to share, ideas. We're able to share best practices in how we run projects and how we facilitate conversations with girls from different communities.
Yes.
But also, I started a blog while I was in America called Meet the Women Africa.
Yeah.
And literally, it's a platform to expose Africa to some of the incredible young women who are leading and will lead in the continent.
Fantastic.
And part of that is really connecting women. Connecting women within South Africa, but also connecting women across the continent. And looking at how do we assert ourselves as young women? How do we begin to make a tangible contribution? How do we begin to, include each other to make sure that every woman gets a seat at the table? And that has been my project. That is currently what I'm working on. And it's been such a wonderful experience because I'm able to tap into that network. If I'm looking for support, if I'm looking for organizations working in different communities and different aspects, I'm able to tap into that YALI network and say who's doing this, who's working in this space.
Yes.
And for me, that is a big component that you can never really get from most of the opportunities that are out there.
Fantastic. Now, for listeners listening at home, contemplating whether to apply, what are your words of encouragement for them to definitely get on board?
I recommend just go for it. Plunge right in, open up the application. You can save it as you go along, and just it's definitely an experience that will open up many doors for their future.
Fantastic. And Bonolo?
I think one of the key things in applying, and that I learned as well in applying for this program, is that we really need to be able to talk about ourselves and talk about the work that we're doing, but also assert our vision as young people. And that's advice that I would give, that in applying for the program, talk about what you're doing, talk about what you would like to do in such a way that inspires confidence, but also where the selection panel can see that this opportunity will definitely give you a bump up in being able to achieve that which you assert and that which you set out to achieve. So talk about yourself and don't be shy to assert your narrative and where you want to go as a young person.
Fantastic. Now, how do our listeners find out more about the program, Nick? Where do they go?
So again, it's the website YALI.state.gov and click on the Mandela Washington Fellows, or you can check us out. I know that you've been tweeting us and helping us out on social media, but there's also, of course, the U.S. Embassy, Facebook, and Twitter have links to the program.
Fantastic, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. You've absolutely been inspired, and I certainly hope for all the listeners out there, they're thinking, you know, what an amazing fellowship, definitely wanting to be part of it. And if you know somebody, if you're not the person, but you know somebody who definitely could benefit from this program, please certainly let them know. And you heard that Nick give out all the, you know, it's again the Mandela Washington Fellowship. You can Google it like we did. Click on the link and yes, apply.